Welcome to our next video in the Inventor Fundamentals series from WSI. In this lesson or video tutorial we'll be looking at moving in three-dimensional space and manipulating our 3D model views. Moving in three-dimensional space in the Inventor software can be done using a number of different techniques. The first one we'll look at will be using the Viewcube and Viewcube facets feature. Second, we'll look at dragging the Viewcube in order to control our views. Then we'll look at the orbit control feature, and then we'll look at free orbit on screen. We'll also look at setting and using the home view feature and also using the look at feature as well. So let's look at ways of manipulating the three-dimensional view to move around in 3D space within the software. I've put together this model or this part that you see in front of you to enable you to see what the results of various move techniques are. If you look up in the top right hand corner of the screen, you see what is called the Viewcube. On the faces of the Viewcube, it mentions the different views that are available. If you click on a face, it'll move so that your view is from that direction. If you click on one of the arrows surrounding the face that is showing at the moment, it'll move to that side, and again and again. Also, we can move our view to the top, to the side, and you see the curved arrows here to the right where we can actually move clockwise and anti-clockwise. As well as faces, the Viewcube also has edge views or facet views. So the blue zone that comes up now, if we left click on that, it will go to that view. Each edge has one of these zones or facets. The corners also are view facets, so we can activate any of the views that we wish. So that's an easy way of manipulating a three-dimensional view, but isn't always the fastest. The best thing about using the Viewcube is that if you want to go to a particular view, you can simply click on that angle and you go exactly to that view. Another way of using the Viewcube is, instead of clicking on the views that you want, is simply grab a part of it, left click and hold, and then drag that view around. And to a limited extent, that will actually let you manipulate your view by turning on the pivot mode. If at any stage you get a bit out of sorts and not sure what you're looking at anymore, you can simply click on one of the faces and go back to a familiar view. One of the other techniques, if we look down here in our navigation bar, we have here our little orbits, free orbit activation. If we left click on that, it turns on the crosshair style icon that we see across the screen now, and as we approach different parts of that, you'll see that the cursor changes to different symbols. So with the current cursor showing here, if I left click and drag, it will rotate left to right or right to left only. If I put the cursor up with the icon as it's showing there now, it'll allow me to rotate through the vertical plane. If I put the icon anywhere outside the larger circle, it'll allow me to spin the entire view clockwise or counterclockwise. And if I put the icon inside the circle, you'll see that we'll get a free orbit that allows us to rotate in any direction. And of course, as you can understand, this can get a bit confusing after a while, which is when it's a really good idea just to come back to the Viewcube, at which point we might rotate a view back to the way we want it. An easy way to do that is also to use what's called the home view. When the cursor comes near the Viewcube, the little house emblem lights up just the top left of the Viewcube. Left click on that, and that takes us to a home view. So regardless of what view or angle you end up looking at, if you click on home, it'll immediately take you back to that view. If you wish to set up your own home view, let's say we pick the default front view in that orientation. If we right click on the little house, and we can go set current view as home at fixed distance, Now if we move something, when we go up and hit home, it takes us back to the home view that we set. The last way of manipulating your three-dimensional views that I wanted to show you here was by holding down the Shift key on the keyboard, holding down the middle scroll wheel or the middle button on the mouse, and then simply moving the cursor. This tends to be faster because you don't need to move the cursor off the screen and to select any location. You don't need to activate the orbit. It's an on-screen free orbit, and it allows you to rotate the piece around. It doesn't tend to be as accurate as doing it using the Viewcube, but it certainly gets you close to where you want to go, at which point you can then simply use the Viewcube. One of the last features I'd like to show you is this look at feature. What this allows you to do is to pick an existing face on your three-dimensional object so that you will look at that normal to that face. So by activating the lookout feature and then clicking a face on the existing object, I'm now viewing that face at 90 degrees. So my view direction is normal to the selected face. Again, I'll just move that off skew. If we decide we want to look at that face, it spins us around like that. We can then of course use the Viewcube features to reorientate these particular views however we wish. So again, our home view takes us back to what we're happy with. One of the biggest difficulties that people have manipulating a three-dimensional view is that they tend to get lost. They can't remember which way is up or what surface is the top and what surface is the bottom, particularly when you're looking at a shape which is relatively uniform compared to the one that we're looking at here. So keep that in mind, use these tools, and you'll be able to manipulate the three-dimensional views so that you see what you need to see. The next video tutorial on our series for Inventor Fundamentals will look at starting and saving your first Inventor file using a standard template, understanding the X, Y and Z 3D coordinate axes and planes, and starting your first sketch. Meanwhile, make sure you review this video tutorial as needed. Please refer to the notes supplied along with this lesson, and also undertake any exercises that have been provided in order to practice and improve your skills. Remember, the best way to learn a new software system is to play with it. You're encouraged to give it a go and see what happens.